Hi, Frank.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm good. And yourself?
I'm good. Yeah, very
How's
good.
life in Barcelona at the moment?
Amazing. As usual. No, the data is getting better now. Every day, it's kind of like it looks like we are now over the peak, and we are now going down the curve at the moment.
Good.
Let's see what's gonna happen. Yeah.
That seems to happen everywhere.
Yeah.
So the big question is how are we going to get our lives back?
Exactly. Or if we'll get our life back at least this year.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's the other question. Hi, Gonja. Hi, Umi. Hi, everyone. Okay, so welcome, everyone. And today we are talking about why 100-point system sucks.
Yeah.
I like the title.
Yeah. But it's better to have it clear from the start.
Exactly, right? So you know our opinion. But anyways, guys, just feel free to share your opinion as well. Huh? You say that why it sucks, but if you are in favor of the topic of the system, feel free to share it with us, so we can also discuss that part. Before that, actually, have you seen the picture that I posted just before a few hours before the session? It's a T-shirt and it says Parker gave me 50.
Yeah. Vaguely, yeah. What was that again? What was it exactly?
Yeah, it's a T-shirt and it says Robert Parker gave me 50. So I put it. I mean, I like it. It's fun. So that's why I put it. But I also wanted to draw attention to something. I think the 50 is an important number.
Yeah.
Because we talk about the scale, which is 100-point system. Yeah. But in the end, it's not a 100-point system. First of all, forget about the first 50. Mm-hmm. Because to be able to get 50, I mean, if you're a wine, you get 50. To be able to call the wine, then you have the 50. But after that, from 50 to 70, it's also rubbish. Like from 70 below, it's faulty. From 70 to 80, yes, somewhere pool wine or acceptable, whatever. But the real scale is between 90 to 100.
Exactly. That's what happened in any case. Although the question is, of course, I'm not sure whether Parker, I do not like too much nowadays to talk about Parker points because it's actually not Parker
anymore.
I'm an old guy, and I grew up in this business with real Parker points, meaning points that were allocated by Robert Parker, the person himself, who happened to be one of the best tasters of the last 100 years, I think at least.
And whose nose and palate is insured for $1 million.
That's true. That's the story. I'm not sure if it's really true. I never heard you say it, but
I don't know what it means either, like having your palate and nose insured for $1 million. But yeah. But he's retired anyway, so his palate and nose is safe, I think.
But of course, I'm not sure if he invented the 100-point scale, but he was the first one who got known for it at least. And with him, more or less at the same time, probably Wine Spectator, and then later on Stephen Tenser, I think, with Wine Enthusiast, and later on most publications in the world started to follow.
And I think Jamie Holiday or James Holiday, an Australian writer, also uses the 100 scale.
Exactly. Well, a lot of people do nowadays. So. But I think when it started, it seemed a good idea, and when Parker started doing it, it seemed a good idea, and it was a way to judge wine, to mark wines, and I think many of us are used from our school days to marking systems on a scale of 0 to 10 or 0 to 100, which is basically the same. Let's face it. In the Netherlands we have a scale at school from 0 to 10, but you would get 9.2 or 6.8, whatever. That means that it is actually, in a way, also a 100-point system. Yeah. But I have to say that, and this is already my first problem with the wine scoring system, that in the Netherlands, if you've got a 6 out of 10, you've got a pass. That's basically it. You have a pass. Actually, you have a pass, I think, with 5.6, because 5.6 is moved up to 6, and then you pass. And actually, 8 on 10 is really a good mark. If you've got 8 on 10 in your examinations, you're really good. You're almost completely mastering your subject. And 9 out of 10 is great, and 10 out of 10 is almost impossible. Let's put it like this. And now we come to the wine world, where 8 out of 10 means nothing. 80 is like basic, well-made, clean wine, and anything better than that has to go up in the 90s. So that's already the first. It's not the only, but it's already the first problem. Of course, it's huge point inflation that took place, and it wasn't always like that. It happened over time, and I think Robert Parker, the man, already began doing it, but it got much worse with other, much more commercial publications like Wine Spectator, where basically everything is about the money, the advertisements, and whatever, By giving high scores, not just Wine Spectator, but as a wine writer, by giving high scores, you sort of get the support of the wineries, you make friends, you don't insult them, they will use your points, and it's like a vicious circle where the wineries and the journalists are sort of pleasing each other, keeping each other busy, and that doesn't work. And I think this is a very big problem. I have the impression that many wine writers are not writing really for their readers. They're not giving honest information. They're just keeping themselves in business. And there, I have to say, Parker was different, because Parker wasn't. First of all, he didn't take any advertisements, so he wasn't paid in any way by producers. He was just paid by the subscriptions, and he was not afraid to criticize at all, actually, at all. So sometimes he could have very harsh remarks about certain points.
And actually, he got a lawsuit as well for criticizing. Heavily, I think.
Yeah,
Burgundy.
I think several. Yeah, but Burgundy, that's a different story. And I have to. And it's true actually that Parker and Burgundy, that was a very unhappy marriage. That really didn't work. No, it worked much better with Bordeaux and Rome. Actually, yeah, that's true.
In my point of view, I don't like generally this rating system, point rating system at all. Either it's 100 or 20 or 5 or 10. But before the Parker times, or Robert Parker started this whole thing, I think in 80s or 90s.
In the 80s.
Yeah, 80s. It was U.S. Davis 20 point scale system, and so Johnson Robinson, almost all the Brit writers, they use this 20-point system. But although you use 20 points, again, the same thing, 13 below, forget about it. It's not, it's faulty wine. So that, I really don't understand. So then why they use 20 or 100 for the scale system if they're not going to use good important amount of the numbers? So it's like, kind of doesn't make sense.
No, that's true. Yeah.
And also what I don't like about this whole point system is, in the beginning, yes, it seems like it is maybe for consumers to make it more friendly, more accessible for consumers to have a better understanding. But does it really judge the quality, or is it just the value debate of a taster? Or does that really basis?
Yeah, but that's
or like, is it?
Yeah, that's the next problem. So my first problem is the whole inflation that took place. Points were getting higher and higher. Journalists just want to please producers, especially if they're famous, because but maybe we should look at it from a different point of view. If you are a wine critic and you are just judging the best, most expensive, most exclusive wines in the world, just the Cru Classés of Bordeaux and the Grand Crus and the Premier Crus from the famous Burgundy growers, etc., then your public is going to be very small, actually, because it's a very small part of the market. So, in order to have more readers, you should also bring in more affordable wines and talk about them as well, write about them as well. And then you get the next problem, because how are you? If you use the scoring system 100% in a 100% mathematic and objective way, it would mean that let's say something. Let's take Languedoc-Roussillon. I don't want to insult the Languedoc-Roussillon, but if you are scoring Premier Crus from Bordeaux, depending on the vintage between 94 and 100, let's say Chateau Latour, Chateau Margaux, depending on the vintage, then there is not one single Languedoc-Roussillon wine that will get more than 90 points. And that is, commercially speaking, unacceptable probably. And you would probably be accused of being elitist or whatever, and you lose a big part of your reader base. So you also have to say something positive about cheaper, less famous wines, which is fine with me, but then the whole scoring system goes wrong, because you basically score them way too high. And what you saw with Parker was, as soon as he was judging Best Buys, he always had like special editions with Best Buys, for example, meaning wines, let's say, below 10, 15 euros. And if you score those wines 92, 93, because they're very good value for money, how does that compare to giving 92 or 93 points to a Leo Villas-Case in a weaker vintage, which is clearly a much better wine, even in the weakest vintage of all. And that's where the whole system goes wrong.
Yeah. That's true, but when I say that it is a value judgment, I didn't mean that actually. I meant, I meant something else, but I totally agree with you on that as well. But when I think that it is like, what is the basis of all this scoring? Is it does the scoring really show the quality, or is it the judgment of the taster, or how the taster transfers his or her understanding of the wine to the consumer, or is it the relationship between the taster and the wine? And also, there's also palate differences. Each taster has a different palate and different experience and knowledge.
Definitely. But that's certainly true. And let's say,
you see my kitchen now.
Yeah, where's the bicycle?
Yeah, I said I redecorated the house.
I missed the laundry. Okay.
Yeah, I redecorated the house so that you don't see my laundry or my bicycle, at least you see my kitchen.
No, to get back to your question, but you're right about that. And of course, and in a way it's also true that, let's say, 100% objective judging of a wine is almost impossible. Your personal taste comes in at some point, and you cannot ignore that. That's certainly true. But for me, it's like, I always compare a wine critic with maybe a restaurant critic or an art critic, or maybe even better, a movie, a cinema critic, movie critic. And sometimes you find the critic in, no matter what the subject is, that really is where you can feel, okay, this person has a similar taste to mine. If he or she gives the movie a high rating, I know I will like it. And if he or she doesn't like it, I know I won't like it either. More or less that. And in that way, you should always try to find your favorite critic, and also when it comes to wine, your favorite wine critic. Somebody where you get the feeling that, he is judging according to your own taste. It's always like that.
That's an amazing point, because then it brings the other side of the story. Actually, two things. Yes, we need to look for, like, you don't know.
Movie a high rating, I know I will like it. And if he or she doesn't like it, I know I won't like it either. More or less that. And in that way, you should always try to find your favorite critic, and also when it comes to wine, your favorite wine critic. Somebody where you get the feeling that, he is judging according to your own taste. It's always like that.
That's amazing point because then it brings the other side of the story. Actually, two things. Yes, we always maybe we need to look for the source who is rating the wine. Maybe when you said in the beginning, when it was real Robert Parker time, yes, it was true because Robert Parker also has a palate, like more looking for more mature grapes, more riper grapes, more concentration. Yes, also oak influence, so on. But Robert Parker has a palate. But now Wine Advocate is not Robert Parker, so it's not. We don't know actually because depending on the country, is obviously they're writers, but it's not the main source anymore.
No, exactly. That's where it's getting all different, of course. And so you now have a whole group of people who judge. Let's take Spain as Luis Gutierrez, and but Luis is somebody with a very, very strong personal taste, you know, and in the last 5 years he moved strongly in the direction of natural wines, biodynamic, very specific, characterful wines. And to be honest, I cannot always agree with his judgment, you know. But that's where we come to the point that we just discussed, you know. So he is not representing for me, for my personal taste, that what I think is really good in Spanish wines. But for that, he's got his readers, his fans, and other people who do follow him in his judgment. So, it is very personal.
So maybe this point system, the scores, can work up to certain point if you know who is the judger or if you are following a certain magazine or writer. But I think it doesn't work at all, or it's not objective at all for the competition.
No.
Because in competition, like there's so many people judging, and then maybe it's a maybe collective decision. But again, like you don't know the source, you don't know what to expect from that 85 or 95 points versus, like, let's say a Cabernet, Napa Cabernet can get 88, but a Champagne can get 88 as well. So you don't know what to expect. What does this 88 there mean?
No, that's absolutely true. Absolutely true. But I think scoring, you know, the whole medal system, scoring system, that is not always, but quite often even more rubbish than any journalist is producing. But that's a totally different discussion. But I agree. But actually, OIV has its own sort of wine judging system that many of these juries are using, where they try to sort of make it objective, and you have to give points for a number of different elements in a wine. And it already starts with that you have to give some marks for the appearance of the wine, and that is totally crazy. How can you say that one appearance, that one wine deserves more points for the way the wine looks than the other one? I've never seen something so crazy, you know. But it's part of it. It's another way of non-ballot system of judging, you know, the OIB system. Then basically what happens is that very often when competitions are using the OIB system, they basically tell you, you know what, just score that wine, give that wine the score that you feel it is worth, and don't try to stick too much to the way OIB is building up the score. So in that case, you might as well forget about it, you know, and not use the system at all.
Exactly. And actually, there's two questions. Maybe we can answer them. First question is any effect of consumer survey countable on the scoring, or generally just taster is scoring? As far as I know, in Seller Tracker, it's another online magazine or rating system. I think there the consumer idea is countable as well. But apart from that, it's only one taster tasting it, right?
Yeah, usually I would say so. Yeah. But of course you've got consumer rating systems like Vivino is also using it. But they don't use marks. They use stars.
Up to 5.
But that's again another. I mean, maybe the star system is not that bad, but Vivino is bad because people who judge wines on Vivino are always thinking of the price. And the problem with that is that the value of a bottle that's why it's impossible to rate wines with value in mind. You know, it has a different meaning for everybody.
Yeah, that's totally correct.
Yeah.
Another question, Sergi. By the way, Sergi, yes, I know you don't like me drinking water. I promise I will drink wine in the next session. Sergi says, not all the markets are equally influenced by this kind of score sheet. Which markets are more sensible to 100-point system versus U.S. markets? And now it's getting a little bit, but it's, I think, depending. UK is not much 100-point system influence. I think it's still 20 points, right?
Yeah, that's so. Yeah. But you know, I think, but it's probably because it well, again, I suppose, I imagine that indeed the origin is from the US and maybe it's got the strongest value over there. But you know, in the times when Parker was so important, let's say in the 1990s and the first decade of the 21st century, and that period of more or less 20-25 years, when Parker was by far the most influential wine critic in the world, he was influential everywhere. Everywhere you went, from Scandinavia to Russia, from the United States to Hong Kong, people were looking at the 100-point scores of Parker and Parker only. And so it's a bit difficult to say where the system works best. I once heard an interesting theory, actually, that the Parker points, the 100-point scale worked so well because it offered a sort of mathematic approach to judging quality of wine, and that this worked particularly well for men, not for women, and especially for businessmen who are used to count in numbers, to look at the value of things, talking about their business. And since this is also a group of people, or was maybe a group of people who had money to spend, that this is where the whole system came in. That it was really working very well for business, mostly men with money. I'm not sure if it's true, and I don't mean to be sexist, but it could be true actually that the whole 100-point system had a much better, still has more impact on men than on women. But maybe you could confirm that.
I don't know. Like, personally,
me neither. But
me being a woman, am I more appealed to that or not? I don't know. I have never thought of it. But I think
it's true that men use. Well, let's say maybe. I mean, nowadays the whole thing is a bit weaker anyway. But I always had the impression when somebody told me that, I was thinking about it. But I heard that story or that sort of analyzed it already 10, 15 years ago. But when I thought of it, I was thinking, but it's true actually. It's almost always men who are giving you the scores on the 100-point scale, and not so much women. Although women drink as much and drank as much wine as men did, so maybe there's some truth in it.
No, but actually now it kind of rings the bell, because I remember that I was reading something about that, and also I think Robert Parker also has a business and finance background, right?
No, he's a lawyer.
Ah, he's a lawyer? Okay.
That's why it's called the wine advocate.
Ah, yeah, okay, you're right, yeah.
That's the guy.
Oh. I don't know, we'll look into that then.
Yeah, but it's just a theory. It's not very important.
Exactly.
It's a nice thought. It could be true.
Yeah, could be. Let's think about it.
And it is definitely true that the wine world in the last 20 years, and I'm happy about that, became much more, I'm not going to say more female, but much, it's not so male anymore as it was. I mean, maybe 30 years ago when I started in the business was run by men, and the clients were men. And there was always the story that supermarket wines were bought by women and good wines were bought by men because they would go to more wine merchants. I know it sounds very sexist, but it was a bit true in that time. And this is no longer true nowadays. You go to a good wine shop, you see as many women as men. And the wine world is much better for it. I'd like to add that.
Actually, I mean, it's also happening in many different sectors. Like, women are becoming a little bit more prominent in many different sectors. Thank God, but still they're not at the place that they have to be. It's funny, Torres is celebrating 150th anniversary this year, and then we saw a picture from like, I don't know how many years ago, it was like 30 years, 35 years ago, and a picture of the board members or the people who are in the high level of the company. Yeah, the management. 35 years ago, there was only 2 women, and the rest like 50, 60 men. You know? And now, luckily, it's changed. Like also in Torres, there are so many influential women as well. And now they say one more question from Salvatore Van de Pal. Hello, Irem and Frank. Hello, Salvatore.
Dobby says guys are giving points to everything. No, Anna, that's not true.
Soon we are going to start giving points to people as well.
Yeah.
What are your views on this? I think as far as I know, there takes blinds, no, for the scoring.
I'm not so sure about that. I know that Robert Parker, the man, used to taste a lot of wines blind. At least in Bordeaux, I know it from first hand. But on the other hand, I'm sure that he also retasted wines not blind anymore. I never know exactly what to think about it. It is true that blind tasting is giving you the most objective and honest judgment of the wine. That is definitely true. But sometimes if you know what you're tasting, you also have a better understanding of why the wine tastes as it is. So I'm not sure about this. I still haven't found the idea. But basically, generally speaking, I agree. For an objective judgment, you should taste blind. That's true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You should taste blind, but you also need to know not exactly, but which category does this wine fall into?
Yeah. Well, that's the way it always is anyway, isn't it? I mean, you're never judging wine without having any idea what you've got in front of you. I've never experienced that in my life. That somebody or a magazine or some medal competition asks you to judge without any knowledge what was in front of you.
They only ask you to do that in WCT exams.
Or not. Yeah, but in WS that's true, and in Master of Wine exam is also, of course, also blind. But in neither of them you have to score the wine.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to score. But actually, that's a good point. What I was going to say in the beginning, and I forgot. I really like the approach of quality judgment in WACT because you don't have to score the wine, but you have to tell it is acceptable, good, very good, outstanding, or poor, faulty. I like this wording actually. Instead of scoring the wine, maybe we could just stick to this wording. It's a good wine, very good wine.
That's true. That's true. Mm-hmm. That's true. To be honest, but I agree with that. But and now I'm also thinking back of wine books that I used to buy and read long time ago, and wines were generally most often not really scored or rated, but producers were more like not rated, or sometimes rated actually also by wine writers who write in-depth books, detailed books about wine regions, and you had to read the whole book, and then you would find, which producers, which chateaus were the favorites, and which vintages were the really good ones, etc. And you sort of could figure out yourself what the best wines were. That was a totally different intellectual challenge to scoring wines on a scale to 100. But in a way, it was much better. Much better. You got a much better understanding of what it really was.
Actually, Patrick Hartman just said something very important just before. He said these points are for the people who doesn't have time to deal with the wine. Actually, that's what you are saying as well. Because back then, we were reading, we were taking our time reading, but now no one wants to read. It's just like you pay attention.
I agree. That's absolutely true. And actually, but that could be another issue maybe for a future talk on between us. The quality of wine writing in general nowadays, which is generally speaking
I lost you. Oops. Okay.
Yeah, my battery is getting a bit low, and then it sort of lost. No, I was just saying, I'm making a general comment on the quality of wine writing nowadays, and generally speaking, of course, there are some very important exceptions, but generally speaking, wine writing is at a very poor level nowadays. Very poor.
So I will add this in the list of the topics that we can talk.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay. Let's answer 2 last questions and then say bye for today. That's a nice question, and I know you will answer like tons of yes to this one. Miriam Paradis is asking, did you grade a wine with a low grade? Even Parker said that is 95 points. And why was that? And which wine? I mean, I know that you can give so many examples to that, but
well, you know, I for one have never criticized Parker for his judgment, generally speaking, but it is true that there are always wines where I thought his scores were too high. I have. Generally, I would say he was scoring Merlot-based wine from Saint-Emilion and Pomerol too high, I might say. But I have one specific example. I saw Parker once on a big tasting in Logroño, where he showed a wine that he rated quite high. It was an old vine Grenache from Barossa Valley. I forgot the producer. The wine had over 18% natural alcohol. I thought the wine was disgusting, really. It smelled of detergent, and he rated that very high. So that is the wine where I really remember that I was thinking, oh my God, what possessed him to rate this wine so high? Yeah. What was the next question?
The second question and the last question, by the way, Carlos Javier says hi to you. That he says he is level 3 with you in Spain. Okay, so the question, Good Winemakers is asking, when you talk about points, medals, ratings, etc., you always just talk just about the taste in the glass, right? As we know, the taste can be certain way made in the cellar as well. And how much have these ratings to do with the quality of the wine?
I don't understand that question.
Is it just the taste in the glass or the quality of the wine, the rating? Or how much at certain point?
It's the same thing, no? I mean, what counts is how the wine shows itself in the glass at that particular moment, I would say.
Yes, but Robert Parker used to say that his judgments are based on the pleasure that the wine gives to him.
Is that so? I'm not sure. Yes?
Yeah, I remember something. I read something like that. He was saying that he's tasting based on the wines that, his ratings are based on the pleasure that he gets from the wine. And also, for him, the difference between 95 and 100 is the emotional aspect. So the wine needs to give you an aha moment.
Yeah, maybe that's true. Yeah, I suppose so. I don't know. I'm not sure what to say about that. But I still don't understand what really the question is. It's my good friend Bastian who's asking this.
Yeah.
But
this is in the sense of production, he says. So the production takes.
Well, if you taste blind, you don't know how it is being produced, of course. And if you don't taste blind, and that's of course the risk when you do not taste blind. That when when you have a positive bias towards, let's say, biodynamic wines, then you will judge biodynamic wines higher than other wines. That happens, of course, and I'm not sure if that is really good. And then in that respect, it's better to taste blind and maybe know the region or whatever is in front of you, but don't know the producer. That is probably more honest. Yeah.
Okay, great. And one comment that I want to make before we finish this, I also don't like the aspect of these scores are affecting the prices and the sales, the segments of the. I lost you again. Maybe Frank's better died. Oops. Let's see if he's gonna join. Okay. So my point was, I don't like this the market totally overall, because now many producers, they make wines to get Frank is back. Just waiting for Frank to connect. Okay, guys, bear with me. You're with me. You stuck with me. Frank is gone. Okay, so if Frank cannot join, I will say bye to you on behalf of him as well. So, what I was trying to say, the wineries, they're making wines to be able to get higher scores. So they know that the palate of Robert Parker, and they're making typical wines to be able to get higher scores from Robert Parker. Just using an example, Robert Parker, but I don't like the whole, like, the wineries are changing the points to be able to sell wine. In the end, it's not for consumer, it's just for them to make more money. Thank you guys for being with us. Frank, I'll see you on Friday. We will be here. What are we going to talk on Friday? We're going to do a recap on how COVID-19 affects the wine industry. Thank you all. See you on Friday. Bye.